my fault.
No, it's not. It's just
Peanut
I would
Andrew
choose.
strikes again.
I am guilty of looking ahead instead of right in front of me. At you.
Let's start with a hard-hitting question, though.
Yeah.
There's a scene in this movie where they're getting some pretty devastating news, but then they're offered a tub of celebrations.
Yes.
So what one would you choose if you were offered a celebrations tub?
Well, I would choose a different one if I wasn't with Andrew, but he's got a nut allergy, so I can't choose Snickers.
It's my fault.
So do I, to be fair. So
My fault.
No, it's not. It's just
Peanut
I would
Andrew
choose.
strikes again.
I would choose a different one.
Yeah, I understand. And I appreciate you being considerate
Of your life.
Me being alive.
I do want you to live.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Isn't that a lovely thing?
Gosh, I just didn't
That's
expect.
so
I
nice,
didn't expect to
honestly.
be so moved during.
Yeah. So
It would be a
So
Snicker.
would be a Snickers.
it would be a Snicker, but I would do Twix.
Oh, Malteser.
Malteser.
I love
Solid
Malteser.
choice. Great choices. That scene is a great reflection of the film. It's funny. It's the cathartic release between grief, pretty much. It's laughing through grief. It's a very British human thing, I feel.
Yeah.
And the childbirth scene, I feel, is one of the funniest scenes I've seen this year.
Cool.
Even if this film devastated me, it also made me really laugh, and especially in that scene. But talking to John earlier, you filmed that throughout for multiple times, so it sounds exhausting. Not hilarious film, especially. Obviously, for you.
Yeah.
So how was your reflections on, what's your memory of filming that scene?
It was incredible.
Really good memories, yeah.
It was incredible, but it was exhausting. And it was, after every take because we were doing the scenes for about, I'd say like 15 minutes. And the scene was obviously a bit longer when we shot it, but it was amazing. The only thing that didn't happen was we didn't deliver a child. Well, we did actually end up delivering a child, but it was just, we were panting and sweating after every single take. And it was just a really, really beautiful thing to get to shoot and to have created. Yeah, it was very, very special.
It was also the scene when I read it, which sort of made me go, yeah, I know I'm going to make this film, because I was laughing and crying in it at the same time. And I think that the mixture of tones and elements that's in that scene, from the absurdity of the situation and the jeopardy of it right through to the kind of profound last moments of that scene were and are the sort of ambition for the film, to marry those two things together. Actually shooting it across 2 days was intense and challenging, and in many ways the actors went through exactly what Tobias and Almut go through. I mean, we did long takes for that, so we would do the entire scene through each time, minus the actual baby at the very end. So Florence gave birth 8 times, I think, one day, and so their exhaustion in the scene is not acted, it's real.
I feel there's also those scenes in the film where, in a different film, you can imagine they're just being completely devastating. I'm thinking of the head shaving scene, but there's a joyfulness to it in this. It's creating a family memory. It's quite beautiful. But Andrew, I imagine you must have been absolutely bricking it because you knew there was a one chance of doing it, and that was it. How is that the scene you look back on and you're like, oh, got through it, done, we're good?
Yes and no. I think I felt very, very privileged that I got to do it and take care of Florence's head for a while, that it was in my responsibility. It was a privilege. It's a big privilege to be trusted with that. And I was definitely nervous, and I definitely wanted to make sure I didn't injure anybody and that I gave a good even cut. But honestly, it felt like just wanted to enjoy every moment of this whole film, to be honest, and of course, particularly that scene.
Obviously, the timeline of the film jumps back across these 3 different periods. It's kind of like Christopher Nolan if he did a romantic comedy drama kind of playing with time.
Yes.
So did you shoot chronologically?
Not at all.
Or
Are you
not
well?
at all?
No. When have you ever heard of a film that shoots chronologically? No. I mean, there's certain things that drive it, and we had quite a limited period of time with both of them with their sort of schedules. And without spoiler alert, there is a big head shaving scene in it, and of course everything that was in the middle of the shoot, because everything that's post head shaving had to be after that. So that was a sort of staff in the middle of the shoot. You try and cluster scenes together as best you can so that it's emotionally available to the actors. It's not crazy. We try to never have them doing more than 2 time periods in one day. But no, you never have the luxury of being in strict chronology. And to be honest, with something like this, where it sort of jumps around so much, I'm not sure that would have been massively helpful to them. I mean, they should probably speak to that. But each scene had its own very clear role, and we had rehearsed quite carefully. So they did know the territory of each scene before going into it. So they weren't trying to find the scene. Yeah. They knew what the task was within the 2 hours or whatever it would be that we were shooting a scene when we hit the ground running.
I'm trying to think if there was a scene where I was really, really scared. Ice skating, probably, genuinely, because I'm so shit on the ice. It's just never been something I was good at. Florence loved seeing me like a Bambi on the ice.
Baby, I loved it. Yeah.
Did you show him up with your skills?
No, I mean, I'm also not that great.
No, but you're competent.
But I could do it. Yeah, I went to a few 10-year-old birthday parties when I was 10. Was there any scenes that I was terrified or scared of? No, the only one that I was like correctly so intimidated by, I actually wasn't intimidated by the head shaving scene at all. It was, again, a huge privilege to be able to shoot something like that. And you're right, shoot it in a different tone and make sure that there's a different meaning to it and that it can be a lovely memory. It doesn't have to be a scary memory. But yeah, the birthing scene was definitely something that I wanted to get right. Yeah. I've heard far too many birth stories that I was like, oh, this needs to be correct.
You obviously lived through it because you performed it and you filmed it, but the score in this is absolutely beautiful and it enhances all those scenes. So seeing it for the first time, which I imagine maybe was at Toronto, you saw it for the first time?
No? a few times, a few versions of it, but yeah, completely finished with a large audience was Toronto.
Yeah, so did that change your viewing of the film or what you took from it because you're watching it complete as this whole with the score and everything else?
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. And I loved all the music choices and the sound mix. I love that there are some scenes where you can't quite hear what's being said as well. The sound mix was really, really brilliant, and the score is very delicate and feels very supportive of what John was doing in the storytelling. And the audience itself, having an audience of punters in Toronto was really joyful to hear people laughing in the places where you want them to laugh and in places that you didn't expect them to laugh and crying in the places that you wanted and that you didn't expect. Yeah, it was very, very, reassuring, uplifting, moving.
Yeah. And in the UK, this is coming out on New Year's Day, so do you feel it's a good movie for people to go and see on New Year's Day, maybe hungover, just cry out all the emotions, all the alcohol?
It's a good way to start the year.
A way to start the year. A beautiful way to start the year. And also does all the things that hopefully, it should do all the things that it made us feel when we finished filming it and watched it. It's a beautiful take on life and a beautiful take on how much time we have. And that there really shouldn't be anything that's stopping you.
Yeah, and I think in terms of a New Year's Day, it's a great film to inspire New Year's resolutions. Sure. I think if people watch it and be like, okay, yeah, what do I want to do in this very short time I have on this planet? I think it'll be quite inspiring for people and quite comforting for people after whatever parties they've indulged in.
And it's my birthday on the 3rd, so if you want to get me a birthday
there
present, then go and watch the movie.
Big UK box office opening weekend done. Exactly. Yeah.